Welcome back, Juventinita, to the Juventinita, back to Black and White podcast. I'm Daniel Negro, and I'm live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And today we bring it back after the obviously disappointing loss to Lyon and exit from the Champions League. Today's going to be more of a fan focus. The second Juventina on the show, and someone that I've met quite a while ago now, thinking about it. But yeah, it was one of the first real encounters with anyone. I know Twitter was, has blossomed over the years, and the different WhatsApp groups and obviously Facebook groups and around Turin was really the start of everything around around Juve as Maurizio called it back in the day, and that's kind of where it really all began for me. Not necessarily cheering for Juve, but coming together with different fans. Being in Canada, it's been, there's a lot of Italians here. There's about, 10, 15,000 where I live in Calgary, and there's a variety of teams that everyone cheers for, a lot of Juve fans, but it's something that's more, you hold towards yourself, being a Juve fan and watching at home and trying to find the streams. And I've gotten into detail how difficult that was, and back in the early 2000s, and even into this run that we've had. And so it's been quite an interesting time. Now obviously we've won our 38th title, the 9th in a row. And yeah, I just wanted to throw it back. I'm going to be kind of trying to bring together a group of people that I first met in my first trip to Torino to watch Juventus play, and my only trip actually. And just wanted to get some takes on what they think of Juve now, how they became a fan, all that jazz, and possibly conclude it with the kingpin himself, Maurizio, the founder. And like I said, that really started this being able to talk to different fans, and now there's all these platforms that make it so easy. I mean, really, it started with him, so the props all go towards him. But again, with the boring stuff, guys, please smash subscribe if you can on YouTube. Drop a like if that's where you listen to the podcast or watch the podcast. Click the bell for notifications. That's going to give you the best opportunity to see it right as it comes out. And again, for iTunes and Spotify, same kind of thing. Please subscribe. Please drop a rating and a comment. That helps me out the most, and more than you guys probably know. But keep it locked. We're gonna have quite a few podcasts coming up, even before this new season starts on September 19th. So some more fans, some more, if you want to call it, post reaction to what's happened, because it's been a crazy few weeks. I've kind of taken some time for myself. It's been busy at work, but without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest, Farah from Singapore. I'm not sure if most of you know, because it has been quite a bit, but she was the president of the official fan club there in Singapore. And we're kind of calling into the future, because it is a bright, sunny afternoon in Singapore, Sunday afternoon, and I'm still about 10 o'clock at night on Saturday. So welcome, Farah. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you for having me.
So obviously, second Juventina again, guys. We want to, create some diversity, bring on different opinions. I love hearing everybody's stories. So if you know anyone who wants to come on the show, just please drop me a DM on all the platforms again. And again, from anywhere in the world, we'll make it happen. We've been up at 3 a.m. This is a pretty reasonable time, so nothing crazy now, but we'll make it happen some way or another. But obviously, like I said, we met back in 2016 when I went to see Juve Sampdoria. That was the final game of the season. We smashed them 5-0. But it was kind of an interesting group. There was a lot of people from everywhere. I mean, you had some people from obviously Asia, some North Americans were also there from US, Canada. And then some fellow Europeans as well, sprinkled around. So it was definitely interesting to see that all kind of take place. Maria comes to mind from Cyprus, as well as Giorgios from Cyprus. That guy's got. If you want to see a scarf collection, that's the guy. That's the guy to talk to. So ridiculous. But I'm going to try and get both of those two on as well as Maurizio to talk some Curva Sud and Ultra. But as for now, thank you again for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you, and let's get it started. Pretty basic as always with the podcast. If someone's new to podcasting, we like to know how you became a Juve fan. Quite plain and simple.
That's always the first question, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And in answering the question, I always reveal my age, not that I'm shy about it. But I grew up in a sporting family. You know, my father was an athlete. He worked in sports, so there was always football in the house. But I first watched Italy in the World Cup, Italia 1990. I was 10 years old. And that was Robbie Baggio's first World Cup. And of course, you know, here comes this magical player. Of course, that wasn't the World Cup for him,
Right.
but he did play some really great games. And I always say that I'm fortunate that was the season he ended up in Juve. Imagine if I turned out to be a Fiorentina fan.
It would be completely different. Yeah, completely different world.
You know, and I also know people who only, you know, say started watching, you know, in 1994 and then, you know, kind of decided to follow Robbie Baggio along to
Right.
other clubs. So, you know, the prospect of not being a Juventina and how easy that could have happened when you grow up in a part of the world where there isn't that family heritage or anything, you know, to bind you to it, right? So one, I was very, very fortunate. Timing was perfect. Robbie Baggio, followed him to Juve that summer. He left. I didn't.
There you go. That's plain and simple. Yeah, no, that's great. And I agree 100%. I think even, you know, with heritage, it's quite an interesting thing because we've had Marie on the show and her dad is actually a Napoli fan. Obviously she's from Queens, excuse me. And so her dad is a Napoli fan. Well, she wasn't really into football, calcio, whatever you want to call it, early on, and she kind of grew apart and became a Juve fan. Well, that's obviously caused some controversy in being two different clubs that have gone head to head for quite some time now. But yeah, it's crazy to hear. You know, one slight thing for me, it's always been getting a Del Piero jersey when I was whatever age as a kid. And that was just, you know, that was history then. So I mean, hey, if I would have got a Maldini jersey, you know, it could be completely different podcast, completely different fandom. You know, it's not. It's usually some kind of moment. For my family, I've been saying, it's not really. They're a sporting family, but not necessarily on my mom's. Well, my mom is definitely not the sporting type. With all this cultural talk, she gets annoyed with it, with how into it I am. But you know, my dad is more of you know, a hockey fan, so to speak, and that's really it for him. So it's not really that we love a lot of sports. For me, I love all sports, but you know, yeah, it is pretty simple because, you know, if one uncle from that likes this team, you know, Roma could have been an easy choice for me. But I agree. And then you look at the low hanging fruits, right? The Premier League teams and the La Liga giants, you know, being so prevalent around the world. You almost ask yourself, how the hell did you not, you know, cheer for the Real Madrids and even the Arsenal's got a big presence in Asia, as well as, you know, Man U and Liverpool and whatnot, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool that, you know, Baggio was the connector, and it usually is a player. I've heard it either from young to old. It's a player, whether it be Marchisio, Del Piero, Baggio, Buffon, whoever it is. That's usually your first. There's the occasional one that, you know, really just came for the stripes, and good for them. But for me, like I said, Del Piero always. But that's a great story. In terms of how you watch the games, now everybody's different. You know, I gotta find this out. For me, I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to hear anybody. Maybe because like I said, my family isn't necessarily into Juventus or a lot of sports. Me and my dad will watch hockey, but for me with Calcio, I don't need to see anybody. I don't want to see my mom. I don't want to see my dad, sisters, cousins, whatever. I got to be by myself on the couch. I don't even like wearing the jersey, to be honest, because when I watch the game, if I wore every jersey that I had, they would literally be ruined. I would have to throw about half of them out with the amount of sweat, the amount of sweat that I have during these games. So I've stopped doing that unless it's a really important game. Then I'll throw one. I got a couple special ones that I like to wear during the games. But for yourself, what's your pre-match ritual? Do you got any superstitions? Give it to us.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some context, all right? Matches
Alrighty.
in this part of the world are mostly at 3:45 a.m. And, twice a year at most, we get the privilege of a 7:30 p.m. match, which is lunchtime in Italy. And we know Juve is terrible at lunchtime. So those matches, rarely turn out well. And then our early games kick off at 10 p.m.
That's
And that's for the
unbelievable.
most part of the season. Before our lives got turned upside down by COVID, those early games, we would get to watch together. The Juventus club in Singapore would have a clubhouse, and we would all go and cheer the team and watch together, and that'd be fun. Except, that doesn't happen very often throughout the season either. So most of the time, 3:45 a.m. Ritual, I would take a nap and I would wake up 15 minutes before the match. Yeah, I'd be in my pajamas. I'll be swearing a lot. My husband would be asleep beside me, and he might wake up a little bit when I'm yelling.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, the thing about matches at that time is also when they finish, say 5:45 in the morning, it's too late to go back to sleep. It's too early to go to work. Depending
You're kind of.
on the results, you're riding on adrenaline or you're depressed. So, you figure it out.
Yeah, jeez, man. Hopefully those Sunday matches are probably the worst because you got to go back to work on Monday and you're like, oh, especially if it's a bad game, you're like, oh.
You had an entire weekend, right, to not watch Juve, and then the Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. No, I got to give it up to you guys out there. Obviously in Singapore as well as different parts of Asia, the Middle East, Australia. Like, it's unbelievable how you guys can get up. Like, we complain about those the games that you guys have at 7:30 are probably our 4:30 a.m. games.
Yeah.
And we'll like cry and like complain about it. But I mean, when majority of your matches are like 3:45, it's just unreal. I'll take noon games, especially since most people are off during the weekend. I mean, unless we get those Monday scheduled games or Friday, most people are going to be watching anyways. And Canada is big enough that it's over about what, 3 time zones. So it's a pretty good variety for the most part. But yeah, no, I got to give it credit. Like, there's a lot of really passionate fans out there that watch all these games and put in the time. It's crazy, but yeah, you almost gotta find a job that's like reverse, maybe adjusted hours or something. Because yeah, I don't know if I could. I don't honestly, if I was in your part of the world, I don't think I could do it. So again, I gotta give so much credit to you guys. I really do.
You get used to it, after so many years of practice. Although every new season now just reminds me how much older I'm getting, because it takes longer to recover from the nights. So.
Well, I could imagine, especially the way we've been playing too. It's like, do I really? Then you start contemplating, do I really want to? Or are we in good enough form that we should watch this one tonight, this morning? But yeah, that's funny. Obviously, with a significant other, some people have rivalry, some people don't. For me, I wouldn't say there's a massive rivalry. It's kind of grown a little bit with running into relatives from Italy. Obviously, some relatives watch more than others in Calgary, but in terms of with a significant other, you've had a couple run-ins with a certain team, and yeah, tell us about that.
So my husband is a Tottenham Hotspurs fan, a lifelong, like I am an almost lifelong Juve fan. He's an almost lifelong Tottenham Hotspurs fan. He's 10 years older than I am, so that means he did manage to see some success
Yeah.
that Spurs had in the 70s and 80s, you know. And so it's funny now because over the past, I want to say 10 years or so, you know, Spurs has been
Picking it up a little bit.
rising, but you know, it's hard for me to say good things about his team. I kind of feel sorry for them. You know, they're always almost there, but not quite. But anyway, yeah. we live in a place in Singapore called Sembawang, and so whenever Juve plays Spurs, not that it happens often, but we call it the Derby della Sembawang.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah, and of course, when Juve came last year to Singapore for the ICC, what was the one match that Juve played here? It was Juventus versus Tottenham Hotspurs.
It's almost like they asked you. Come on, Farah, tell me. As the president, did they come up to you and say, which teams would you like to play?
Well, I wasn't the president. I retired in 2018, and the official club here now is under the presidency of a wonderful man called Asari, and you know he's been a brilliant president since 2018. But you know well, I was looking forward to sort of giving them a beating, but as it turned out, you know, Harry Kane scored that freak goal. I don't know if you remember, or well, I don't know if does anybody watch the ICC from elsewhere, like when you're not physically in the stadium.
Yeah, it's tough. Like they've been really weird. Like they've showed them on TSN here, which is like ESPN. It's the Canadian version. Yeah. But then they're like so sporadic. So and usually I'm going on holidays around the time that they play. So it's like if I'm in Cuba, maybe I'll check out ESPN what's the one? The ESPN of Latin America or Fox. They usually show a lot of soccer in South America / Central America. But for the most part, not really. Plus the hours. I mean.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When they start those games, yeah, like they start them at weird times. So it's like most of the time, not really. But it's been so sporadic and weird of when they've had them on, and but I'm not a big fan of preseason. I mean, ever since Maurizio got dumped on the last day, kind of don't watch preseason anymore because I actually watched that full summer and I was like, oh, Maurizio's coming back. Like this is gonna be his year. Like, oh, maybe that he's gonna be like the MVP, but like he's looking good, he's playing good, seems like he's fit. Then on the last day, wake up in the morning, notifications like crazy on my phone. Oh, Juve has parted ways. I'm like, oh, thanks for just breaking my heart right before I believe that was what 17-18 or 18-19, whatever the season was. But yeah, heartbreaker. But yeah, ICC is, I don't know. I think as of going forward, I would like to see more of it just because it gets the brand out there. You're not going to see it great, depending on if it's a World Cup year or not, or a Euro or stuff like that. You're not going to see everybody there, but I mean, it's good for the fans to come together. I would like to go to the ones in North America, but you know, sometimes they put them at weird times. And like I said, I was for the life of me, I was always going on vacation in the summers, and now that's going to be a little bit different, even not just because of COVID, but just because of career choice. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I personally, I would rather go to the J Stadium to watch games than Miami or New York or whatnot. I mean, don't get me wrong; those are great cities to go to, but definitely not the not the atmosphere. Maybe it's a little bit different now. I think you can attest to that in the next couple segments. But obviously, favorite Juventus player of the past, would that have to be Baggio would be your favorite? Or do you think you would go Del Piero? Or, I mean,
always Del Piero.
Okay, there
I
you go.
think anyone of my generation will tell you that. I always say that Baggio is the one who got the passion going, but Del Piero is the one who kept
Yep.
it. You know,
Awesome.
there is only one answer.
Yep, that is true for me as well. How about present team? Who's got your eye?
Oh, this is a difficult one, because for a long time after Del
Please,
Piero
please
left,
don't say Ronaldo.
oh my No, okay. I like him and I appreciate that he's in our team. And well, I like him now. I was swearing at him before. Um, but so I'm not a Ronaldo hater. I know some people can't stand that he's in our team. Um, it's hard to pick a favorite player now. So okay. I will tell you. I'll give you a bit of a longer answer. Since Del Piero left, the one player who was always my answer to who's the current favorite player, is Barzal. And he was reliable, he was
Yeah.
reliable. Even with his hands tied behind his back and blindfolded, you knew he was going to do a perfect job. And I think I have more Barzali jerseys than I do anyone else post Del Piero.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And then of course, whenever I bought like away jersey, I'm not a jersey collector very much, but when I bought away jerseys, it would always be Chiellini. So the thing is, at the moment you have to say Chiellini because he's still around. But the question is, how around can he afford to be in this coming season?
Yeah, that's a good question. That is a very good question, Farah, because he looks like he is on his way out. Especially when he played that one game and then now he's hurt again. That's crazy. It's crazy how time flies. Like we were talking about before, 2016 being, like I said, the first and only time, how far that's become. And now we're 9 years into the Scudetto, winning the Scudetto in a row. And yeah, it's almost like a generation is closing. And I don't like it. It's tough. It's tough for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's bound to happen. And
That's
no matter when it happens, we'll never be ready for it. We could win 20 Scudetti in a row and we'll still say, oh no, 21's a nice number.
yeah.
And then of course there is, that elusive one. We don't want to say its name. Um,
Yeah.
but it's interesting times. It will be an interesting season. I had a lot of hope, to be honest. It's an unpopular opinion now, but I had a lot of hope for Sarri. I thought maybe there was something that was going to happen there,
Yeah.
given the right resources and time. And well, it's a shame that neither of that were provided to him, right? But now we'll
Definitely.
have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into that in a little bit more on how it all ended, how it took place, and even what we have to look forward to next year. But back to the players. I know a lot of people say, non-favorite Italian player. I think for me, it's tough because Dybala's done such a great job of filling in that role personally. But then you always look at Nedved, and that's a tough one to choose between just because of the different levels. I mean, Dybala's not necessarily on that career, defining finish yet, but and obviously Nedved's now on the on the board and still part of the club, but also won a Ballon d'Or, and obviously his career's over, so it's easier to see what he's done in the body of work. But um, yeah, it's for me, it's probably it's gonna be between those two. I think it's a dead heat between those two, Nedved or Dybala. But even and I like this question because I like to hear what people have to say because everybody's got, some people just maybe you'll kind of get the hint of it with a favorite player, but a dark horse like a Paduin or like a Giaccherini or Camoranesi, um, just some like maybe even a Furino back in back in the earlier Juve days. But who's kind of like your dark horse, like someone that maybe isn't popular, maybe you like, hey, maybe you're a big Quagliarella fan, and not saying that he wasn't loved, but um, not necessarily like a legend player or anything like that. Uh, who have you had a special kind of bond with, if you can answer that question?
And again, I think I'm always gonna go back to my generation. When I was a young person like you, Daniel.
Young, okay.
And well, his life hasn't panned out the way we had thought it would, but I think Conte as a player was reasonably underrated. Takinardi I really liked, and I thought that like he was one of those players
solid pick.
Yeah, I mean you nobody really goes, oh, he's my favorite player. He was the best on pitch. He was never best on pitch, but he was there. And I think in the same way, like if you think about how okay, I'm not by any means comparing Padoin or Giaccherini's skills to Takinardi. That's not even close. But I think what people like not even like don't
night day,
yeah. But what I'm saying is, I think what people appreciated later on about someone like Padoin was how much heart he put in.
Yeah.
And if we talk about the frustration of watching this Juve this season, we can argue about Sarri's tactics till the end of time, right? And of course, we are all professionals. We are smarter than the coaches and all of that. But for me as a fan, what was missing in this team was heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to recapture. In addition to tactical prowess and whatever else.
Well, you look at the not even just the way that the things have unfolded, but the logo and players leaving and all this overhaul of talent coming in and not necessarily being cut from the same cloth, and there's a list of things, right, that have been done. That you look at it and like it's almost like the soul's missing, the passion's missing. I mean, winning 9 in a row can do that to you because you think you can almost win every year and you're untouchable, and then you start becoming complacent. So yeah, I agree. I think that's why those guys were, like attacking. I agree. I think that's a great shout, actually. Great shout. And you lose that appreciation for like I said, players that are going in and putting in a shift, but are not necessarily the best tactically or the best technically, but they do their job. They do their job well, and they get the job done. And that's what really, with all this money era and players asking for ridiculous contracts and clubs giving it to them. That's what you get. So it's nice to bring it back. And that's what I kind of wanted to do with this podcast, where, we still kind of remember those days where we had it. Because quite honestly, me and Albert on the last podcast, we kind of went back and forth. And I agree. It's not going to ever be the same as what it was. But I think you have to take that with a grain of salt. Don't go too far ahead and really miss the boat just for the sake of money. I think if that's the case, then we're going to be watching a Super League in the next 10 to 15 years, to be quite honest. I don't really have hope for anything else because, it's going to turn into this money fest. And you look at teams getting away with it like Man City and then they lose today. Earlier today. And it's just like, what are we getting into? It just seems like we're it's all fake, and it's there's no passion with you. Well, you even look at the Curva Sud and the Ultra stadium atmospheres. It's not the same. It's not the same. Now, we don't want to get it back to a place where there's violence and people getting killed, and obviously we have to respect those that have passed, in the Heysel and incidents and stuff like that. But not saying to go that far back, but I think there's a happy medium for that we can come to, and that's what I hope. But I'm always a pessimistic in terms of what I've seen. Juve's turned me into Mr. Negative. So really, if you were to ask me, oh yeah, is it going to get better? I doubt it. I don't know. I don't see it. We're in a different age, digital age. Money comes first. We're turning into a brand apparently. So we'll see what happens. But got a couple kind of one or the other questions. Scudetto or Champions League?
Both. It's never an option. I have Boniperti's quote tattooed on the back of my neck.
Yes, you do.
And that's it, really. That's all there is to say about that.
I agree. I think you can't.
Everything.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. It's never good enough to lose when you have this, even with this advantage that we've had now, and this is our DNA. And it's funny how we like to jump around and say, oh well, Champions League is it's a not an option, but it's a goal. Champions League. I mean, after this long, it's been what, 20 some years. I mean, we won 3 years after I was born. Was the last time we won. Obviously, there was 3 consecutive finals in a row. Obviously, winning the first one in Rome, but yeah, it's crazy. I would love to say both. I think you have to win everything, and you have to celebrate everything, and that's one thing that I think I kind of got away from the past couple of years, and kind of realized this year and even the year before, talking to some other people, and you got to celebrate these wins because you never know what's going to come next. You don't know. Obviously, you see the likes of Merda, revamping, and other teams trying to come. Milan was looking pretty good. We'll see if that transitions next year, but you don't know when you're going to win another title. You might not win another title for a long time, so you got to celebrate it. And yeah, I agree, both for sure. Bianco, and the next one is pretty simple. Bianco or Nero?
You keep giving me options where the answer is both. The answer.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, that was the only test. That was the only test part of the podcast. You're good. You passed 100%. But no, it's famous black and white stripes. What have you been thinking? I know you said you're not really a jersey collector, but what have you been thinking about all this? Talk. I've said my piece on Twitter. I've said different things, but what are you thinking about it? What do you think about the paintbrush stripes, the half and half? What do you think, Farah?
How much time do we have?
As long as you want. We can make this as long as you want.
I hated the last year's half and half jersey, and I'm glad to never have to see it again.
Amen.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, I get that they wanted to try something, but to me, okay, so to me, I'm a marketing person, as you know, and I understand the need for it, and I understand that given what we went through, we call it the dark years, right? What we went through post-Calciopoli before we came back up, and we were in so much trouble financially that we do, as a club, as a brand, we need to find other revenue streams, right? So that if something like that, even not as bad, but even something like this, something like COVID happens to us again, and we're not getting people in the state, no one's staying at the hotel and whatever, right? Or TV money is going to go down. Then we need other ways to make money. So I get all of those arguments. I just wish that they would leave the home jersey alone. Do it on the away jersey, do it on a third kit. I mean, they release 12, special kits a season or something, boxes and stuff. come on, like do special jerseys. I don't care, but
I agree. I
please
agree.
don't, you know.
It's like it's so simple. You have one job, Adidas. You
Yeah,
have one job.
one job, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Don't touch the stripes. That's all you have to do. The rest go like me and Albert we touched about on the last one. He went even to say where the second kit should be, either blue and yellow and maybe pink every so often, like every other year. To me, I don't care about that. I like that would be nice, but just leave the black and white stripes. Make it the same jersey every year. If they want it like that one with the nice collar they had a few years ago, what was it, like 16, 17 or 17, 18, something like that, where the Scudetto was in the worst place. If they can like redo that and put the Scudetto in the middle, like they could sell that jersey every year. I'll buy it every year. I'll probably get a different player on it every year, and I would never complain. But then they want to do these stupid gimmicks. Now, there's a debate on Nike and Adidas, right? Who's the better? Who's the worst of the two? I don't know what it is about Adidas, but they're on this like path of we have to make the third jersey like some collective idea of branding where they do like Real Madrid, all kind of in the same ilk of like what the design concept is, and it's just horrible. Like I remember Nike did it once, and then they've never done it again because of how like this year I think they're supposed to do some shoe kind of concept where they're gonna take a colorway of a certain shoe, be it an Air Max 90 or Air Force One or whatever it may be, and they're gonna kind of design it with the third jerseys of the clubs. You could say, okay, that's a stupid gimmick. That's fine, but from what I've noticed, they're pretty good with how they did those ones. That lime green. Remember back in what year? I think it was like 14, 15, where we had the
Yeah.
blue jerseys with the 3 stars kind of embossed, and then you had those sick 14, 15 kits that we were in the Champions League. I thought those are another one of the best ones we've had. But they did that stupid like color where we were lime green and like Barca was like this light blue and like Roma was this color, and it was just like the worst idea I've ever seen, and I really haven't seen them come up with something that trash in a while. But yeah, no, Adidas, I don't know. There's a lot of debate on it, right? Because some people say it's good that we're with Adidas because we have the only market share in Italy where there's no other club that has Adidas as their sponsor. And then you have someone like myself saying, well, at the end of the day, you're still competing with Real Madrid, Bayern, Arsenal, Man U. You know,
Yeah.
that's where that's where Juve's going. As much as we want to say, oh, you want to solidify the Italy. I mean, I think that's been done already, and the rest of the world's waiting, right? So I
Exactly.
don't. We got to go back to Kappa. That's just what it has to be.
Well, yes, I was going to say that. I mean, Kappa, everybody says that now, right? Kappa makes the best jerseys, right?
Give us 100 million. Give us 100 million, Kappa. We got a deal. Let's go.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the good thing, I suppose, with Adidas is that we are getting more money out of them than we did out of Nike. I mean, that was
True.
too long a contract that paid way too little. But that's about it, really. And I mean, Ronaldo's got another year, right, on his contract.
Yes, one after this one. Yep.
Yeah, and then after that, those jersey sales are gonna go down. And the thing about the argument that's had with that's been had with the home jerseys is people tend to say to me when I criticize it, people tend to say to me, but it looks nice. But that's not the argument. No one, the argument isn't whether it looks nice or not, because, objectively speaking, the half and half with a pink stripe down the middle looks nice.
Yeah.
The paintbrush stripes looks nice, but it's not. It just doesn't feel as Juve as I would like it to be. Give me
See,
solid any day. I mean, look at what I'm wearing now, you know?
exactly. I know, and that's a beautiful kit, and I have the retro one as well that I wore on a previous pod, and yeah, it's you know, to me, it comes down to this. If we want to talk brand and we want to talk business, let's talk business, right? When it comes down to it, how many people are actually buying
Mm-hmm.
jerseys? And that's really all it comes down to, right? How much revenue is Juve coming up with? And from what I noticed, and yes, Adidas gave us that bump. I don't see the big numbers like these other clubs, and that's even bringing in Ronaldo. So you bring in a player like Ronaldo. Our sponsorship did go up to about like 51 million. Or I don't want to get too heavily into numbers, but about 51 million. You look at our merchandise, which is in the financials. It only went up about 18%. Um, in that first year. And I mean, that's when you're going to get your biggest bump. Your biggest bump is going to be the announcement year, his first season. I just personally, in my opinion, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't see enough people buying real jerseys enough to make the difference. And you could take that as an offensive way or not. I'm just saying it as a business point of view, in the business point of view for Juve. They're not like even Ronaldo fans. Like they get up in arms and they say, "Oh, we do all this stuff," and Ronaldo is a great financial bonus for Juve. Okay, that's fine. Sure, you could say that in the first year. But how many Ronaldo jerseys did you buy? Did you buy the first one? Did you buy any? Did you maybe buy one that's from China that Juve gets no money? Like that's what people don't understand. If you're not buying from either Adidas or you're not buying from the Juve store, Juve is not getting any of, well, maybe if it's an official retailer or whatever, like JD Sports or whatever, then sure those are gonna get factored into the numbers. But if it's something that is a replica or a fake or whatever, that doesn't get factored into it. So that's what we got to look at, right? And in terms of the brand, let's say, the logo, like how have you seen it? Like, have you noticed this, an actual change, be it in Singapore or from wherever you've traveled? Do you see this presence that everybody seems to be talking about? Because I'll give you a little anecdote about Canada, and I keep bringing up this story, and probably everyone's going to get pissed off that I brought it up again, but when someone told me that people were asking, Canadians were asking, and it's a smaller town, but it's just like a little suburb of Montreal, which is a pretty big city. I'd say probably like 4 or 5 million people in the greater area. So when they're coming up to you and saying, and this is the half and half, they're saying with the Juventus still on the jersey, like what team is that? I mean, Albert made the argument, okay, well, maybe Canada's not big enough, but I'll tell you this. In Canada, soccer, calcio, football, whatever you want to call it, is the most played by youth at the youth level. More than even hockey, more than lacrosse, more than football, baseball, everything. It's the most played. Obviously, reason why, it's the cheapest, simple. I mean, you don't even need a pair of cleats. You can wear shoes, whatever. So it's pretty easy to put together. Now, in terms of that, when I heard that was kind of like surprising to me, because this is someone who works in retail. He's seeing day to day what's being stocked, what's not being stocked. But what have you thought about this so-called brand and this move towards marketing and stuff like that? Like, are actually, like, in your view, do you see a lot of people wearing Juve jerseys now compared to, let's say, 5 years ago?
I think in this part of the world, so back to what you were saying about authentic replicas versus replicas.
Yeah.
I think in this part of the world, the market for fakes is so significant, and the fakes are really, 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 really good. I got to tell you this.
Well, I don't think it's a problem just there. I think it's globally is a problem, because don't get me wrong. Like, I know a lot of people here that, hey, let's say they want to get a Roma jersey or whatever, a Bayern jersey, and you just want to wear it to like like I said, I don't like with the jerseys, washing them, then the numbers get ruined and
Yeah.
stuff like, you know what I mean? So, some people just get them, just say, hey, I can play in this jersey, I can play in my Sunday league or whatever, right?
And it gets
But
dirty and it's okay,
who
because
cares?
you pay 20, $30 for it.
Right.
And honestly, if someone looks at you and walks past you, they're not going to tell that it's a fake
No.
unless they look at the label or touch the material or something, right? So there is that. There's that challenge. Having said that, you do see a lot more people wearing Juve jerseys in the last few years, the Ronaldo years, and I think that just happens naturally because of the way football is being supported in this part of the world.
Right.
People, there are people who support the one team, but most of the time people have a favorite team in the EPL, a favorite team in Italy, and a favorite
Okay.
team in Spain.
Spain.
And they'll buy a jersey each and wear it around. That doesn't mean they're waking up at 3:45 every 3 days.
Right.
And that doesn't mean they'll ever go to Torino, you know? But they'll buy a jersey. We do hear that, the thing is, Juve jerseys, they won't bring as many Juve jerseys in as they do Man U jerseys or Liverpool jerseys. In fact, there's a Liverpool store at a mall right in the middle of town, and that's how much business is available to them in Singapore, right? So they don't bring that many Juve jerseys in, but they sell out.
Right.
And then we go back to that argument of, I buy it because it's nice.
Right.
And so I think that question of so the topic of merchandising is kind of like stadium gate, the revenue from gate, right? Because the money comes in, but how much is it in the scheme of everything, of the business as
Right.
a whole? I think Juve having come here last year helped in terms of recognition and prominence. People here know Juve, but whether they care about it or not is something else, And Juve, obviously, since we've changed to that J logo, has had the word Juventus over the logo, and now we're going into a first season where we don't have that. Then I think, a year from now, if we had this conversation, then I might give you a different answer. But at the moment, people are associating the jersey and the J with Juventus because it says so, or it's either it says Juventus on the front and they see that, or it says Ronaldo on the back and they see that.
True. Very good point. Very good point. Now, obviously, in terms of fandom and collaboration and coming together, obviously, like I've mentioned, you were the president of the official fan club. Now it's called. The name has changed a little bit now with the JOFC being the moniker that they want to use. I guess Club Doc is not something that I guess flies. Is not brand friendly, so it made sense that they changed it. But kind of give us how that all started. I mean, it's a big club from what I've heard in Singapore. Is that correct? Like, give us a number, like how many members, and how it all started for you. Obviously, to be a president, I've always said that I would have liked to have done something for Calgary. I'm not sure there's a reach. I'm part of my own, part of a club here. Well, not in Calgary, but in Toronto, based in Toronto. And it's nice to be a part of, but it's a lot of work. So I can understand why maybe stepping back, having those years that you did were nice, but then obviously everybody's got a life as well, and then the next set of fans take over or someone else takes over, right? So just give us a little bit of a background on the fan club in Singapore.
So Juventus first came to Singapore in 2014, and we had just rebuilt our national stadium at that time, and Juve played the Singapore national team in the first football match ever at that stadium. The pitch was horrendous. So that was quite embarrassing. Um, but we were not yet an official club then. We were a Facebook group, a bunch of friends. But we managed to sort of gather people to buy tickets in the same sector and created a little curva. We were right behind Buffon where everybody was warming up. And we were, to say we were loud is an understatement, for 300-400 people together. We had song sheets so everybody could sing Storia di un grande amore, and all the cheers.
That's
and
awesome.
everything. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy
No.
for Asians to sing in Italian, and we are generally more shy as a culture anyway, right? But we were loud, and I always say that we were so loud that they heard us in Turin, because couple months later, they sent us an email and said, "Hey, would you guys like to become an official club?" And it was something that we hadn't even thought about, because it was so far away from us, the possibility. We didn't realize that, we didn't know whether we could make the numbers and all of that, right? And so they talked us through the process. It wasn't as complicated as we had thought. And we only needed 30 people to begin with to sign. And so that was, the end of 2014. And because membership is by full seasons, we thought, okay, at the end of that season, just before 2015, 2016 was going to kick off, we would do a membership drive. And it was fantastic timing because we ended up in Berlin that year.
Yep.
So that got everybody excited, and we coincided with that to sort of launch a bit of a membership drive. And the first year we had 63 members sign up, and that sounds like nothing, but it was big for us. It was a big achievement for us because we came from nowhere. We had nothing but grit and passion, I would always say, and there was a team of Juventini, obviously, who dedicated their time and a lot of their lives to support this project. And so year on year, we just kept growing. I mean, the club now has, I want to say, 150 members or so. I don't have access to membership lists anymore, so I don't know, but about that.
That's a fantastic number. That's, I mean,
and
for one city, right?
Exactly. And for us, that's big, because we are competing with a nation of Man U fans, Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, Tottenham Hotspur fans.
Yeah, there you go.
There are more Newcastle fans in this country than there are Juve fans, and that's not the same as people wearing Juve jerseys. Juve fans,
Yeah.
And so the club just turned 5 this July, actually, and the guys had a virtual celebration, which was nice. And yeah, I mean, I was president for 3 years. Used my marketing skills, did a lot of shoving ourselves in front of Juve's face, and we appeared on their social media a number of times, and that was good. And yeah, I mean, the last couple of years, the guys have done an amazing job. Back when we could still play football physically, the guys started up an 11-a-side football team. They were playing in a league and doing really well. And obviously ICC last year, and that curva, got kind of famous as well. I think they had coverage in Tutto Sport and all of that. So, it was good. It was good. And the guys are doing a great job. And I think that no matter what happens, it's easy to get fans when we're winning, we're doing well, right? But I think that no matter what happens, there is always going to be that 63 from the original 2015 group. No matter what happens, we could be back in Serie B.
The OGs, yeah.
And there will always be that group of people who have loved Juve through the darkest of times and will always do that from this part of the world.
Yeah,
that's 3 computers trying to watch Juve in Serie B.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, some of the things I had to do just to find channels, and sometimes you're like, am I gonna even watch the game today because I'm like on my 7th stream, it's falling apart. Do I got to find another eighth provider to like find? And it was like
Yeah.
unreal. Some of the stuff, even in Europa League, some of those games, like even coming out of Serie B, and watching games against like Shamrock Rovers and
Oh,
even Man City when we did. It was quite interesting, to say the least. Even from, if you want to say, somewhat of a more established internet supplier in Canada, it was still difficult to get channels from Italy and different places. It wasn't really that, and you could say that's a Serie A problem, right? But because their media and their marketing has just been so horrendous for such a long time. But it was tough. So I got to give credit where it's due. I mean, I see lots of fans from all over, obviously Asia and the world, with different displays. You see, the gym fulls in, I believe it was Albania and Malaysia and China, and I got to give credit where it's due. If we're all on the same page. And I was a little more critical before, when I was naive and young, and of what the passion is. But having this podcast and talking to more people online, and you really see the similar stories, and everybody has their own unique story. Everybody's got funny stories that stuff happens where either you're in Torino or you're watching a game that has either come to North America or wherever. Just funny moments, and it's good to connect because it unites us all. Two colors, one club unite us all. And even talking to Iskander Juve Shaw,
yeah.
I hope I pronounced that correctly. Sorry, buddy. We'll have you on the podcast either before the season starts or after, and just talking about even that, like the collective Juve museum. And I'm just like, wait, what's going on? And it's unreal. Just to have a museum where people are bringing their own memorabilia and hanging it in a location where all the fans of the club can go, admire and see the different things. Some people found some unbelievable jerseys, and through the years, right, being 27, I'm not quite sure how certain people got acquired jerseys. This is before the internet age, right? So unless you're going to Torino, I mean that would be my only guess of how you bought jerseys in the 90s and 80s and earlier on, if they even sold them, because I'm sure it was an exclusive thing back when you get, you know, in times where they're actually sewing the numbers onto the jersey. I don't think the merchandise level was what it is today, but um, yeah, it's unbelievable some of the finds you can have, and like I said, that's such an incredible concept that you guys have over there. Um, and I think is in general, do you guys usually meet? Is that kind of is there kind of a bar or um, the club kind of hosts something where you guys watch live games? I'm gonna assume, go on a limb and assume.
Yeah, so there is a clubhouse. It's at a place called Boat Quay, which is just along the Singapore River,
Okay.
and it's at a bar restaurant called Sahara. And it's actually owned by someone who was a former football player. So there's an
There
interesting
you
vibe
go.
there. The club goes there to watch the early matches.
Right.
Once in a while, well, I mean, this year it hasn't quite worked out, but in the past, we would do 3:45 Champions League matches there. Of course, you'd have to gather like 20 people, make it worthwhile for the restaurant to stay open and all of that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we've had times like that, where we had a group of us go there middle of
That's
the night,
awesome.
celebrate together or suffer together,
Right.
that 2017 final at Cardiff. So I was in Cardiff, and so the guys were in charge of organizing that, and we had, I don't know, like 250, 300 people. I mean, the street was full, there was nowhere to sit and everyone was standing. It was a sea of black and white. We had declared it the official place in Singapore to watch Juventus and to support Juventus. A couple of Real Madrid fans turned up and then left very quickly, from what I heard.
Yeah, it was Cardiff. I heard was nuts, especially with all the accommodation problems they had and how much they were charging people. It was ridiculous. But I heard it was just not like the amount of Juve, if you want to call it Juve FC or Juve Twitter or whatever you want to call it, the amount of like big names that showed up there was unbelievable. Like you said, unfortunately, it didn't go our way, but you live for those experiences and seeing different Juve fans. And I mean, I couldn't imagine being in a city that isn't Torino with a bunch of fans singing, cheering, celebrating, before the whistle. But yeah, that just sounds incredible to me. And I mean, I hope I get to do it one time. I did try and look to get over there, but it was just like crazy. It was ridiculous. I think we would have had to left the day of and then leave like right after the final. It was really weird. The packages they were offering, but unfortunately didn't get to go. But and unfortunately we didn't win that one. I kind of took a beating because there was about, I want to say 3 people cheered for Real Madrid. One who was kind of sitting on the fence, and another one who just was just there to drink. But it was a pretty tough final. I had the flag set up and everything, and yeah, that was a tough moment. But I got to give a bit credit to you, Farah. Like you, as we were talking before, and we're probably about the same distance apart from Italy, but you travel, like you're on it. Like I'm not sure how many games you've been to so far, but you've been to a hell of a lot of games from what I've kept track, obviously on Facebook. And yeah, like you guys get out. You from being in a country that, like you said, it's not the biggest, the following to say the least, but yeah, to get out to all those games is incredible. Because for me, it's like I wish I could. Like, I mean, hey, maybe I win the lot. Maybe I won the lot. Maybe I win the lottery in a couple weeks or a couple years. Then I'll be going all the time. But maybe I'll buy a place there. But for right now, it's like it's incredibly difficult to get out there. And like I said, you've been there lots, the Champions League games, the finals, stuff like that. So kudos to you. What do you think was your most memorable? Do you think it was that Cardiff final, or do you think? I know, like I said, you've been to a lot of games and different storylines and stuff like that. But what do you think the most memorable, experience you've had? Obviously, like you said before, you went to you went to Torino right before everything kind of shut down. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can go with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's so here's the thing. I keep telling myself I need to make a list of every match that I've been to. I can't even tell you how many times I've been. Like I've not kept track. I've also done a couple of trips in the summer where there are no matches, but it's just I was in the area and it was nice to be to just visit for a couple of days. Yeah, they're all different, I remember being okay. So that match that you were at, right? Juve Sampdoria 5-0. And that was the first trophy day that I'd ever been to my entire life, and that was exciting. Were you part of the pitch invasion? I was too short to get over the glass panel.
I kind of chickened out. I'm not gonna bullshit anyone. I had about another month in Italy, and I really didn't want to mess things up by getting arrested. No. And I think, yes, I did have a tour. Me and my buddy were going on a tour right after. Yeah. And that was the first thing that came through my head. I'm like, he's going to arrive tomorrow. Do I really want to I was like, I wanted to go so bad, but I'm like, oh, do I really want to do this right? Do I really want to risk getting in shit for this right now? Next time I go, I'm going to have like 3 months there. Who cares? But Yeah, who knows if we'll ever be back in the stadium again, but that was unreal. I couldn't believe that even happened. And I think it was it Jacob?
Jakub, he
Yeah.
made the first leap.
And it's crazy getting those videos after because yeah, let's get into that because the first time I went was like it was almost heartbreak and then it was okay, we're going, and then it was like holy shit, we're actually here. And then it was like holy shit, look at all these Juve fans here. And I don't know if you started going per se when, the big, obviously Maurizio started his massive following, well, what is now a massive following. But I don't know if that's kind of when you started going to matches or not, but that's kind of when it all kicked, like even thinking of having a chance to go for me. Um, but it was crazy, yeah, like going there and going in front of those well, what's the word to describe them in English, kind of like food trucks if you want to for the average person.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the Italian word but I'm not quite sure. I guess food truck would probably be the best, and cracking open a couple of beers, obviously talking to the guys. I don't think they had done the lives yet, the Facebook lives yet. I think that came a little bit after, but um, yeah, it was definitely unreal seeing people from everywhere.
Yeah.
Obviously, meeting yourself, meeting Maria, Giorgios. I can't remember his name, but someone from Estonia. Obviously, Jakub from Chicago. Um, I believe he had his buddies there as well, or cousins. They came from Poland. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So it was literally like uh, uh, the diaspora was like unbelievable. So then
Yeah.
we go to that. We have that kind of fun moment at the beginning after I kind of like remove the sweat of figuring out that I actually have tickets that are gonna be okay and being able to get into the stadium. But yeah, that was unbelievable. The one thing that stands out for me, obviously, the game was incredible, and like you said, seeing the moments. I think it was Maurizio who posted it after. Someone got him on tape of Jakob just being the first one jumping. Or I don't know if someone was taking the footage of the actual game after and then like took a video of the TV. But yeah, that was incredible. And I wish I had done it now, but it was a surreal experience going there. That whole trip was unbelievable. I hope to do that very soon. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and my last football match, well, now my last football match to date, Jakub convinced me to go to Madrid and watch El Clasico with him because Juve versus Merda got cancelled that weekend, right?
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, and so we ended up in Madrid. We stayed at our friend Pablo's apartment. He was away that weekend, so we stayed in his apartment. We didn't end up getting tickets together, so we sat in different sectors. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It was a spur of the moment thing, and it just happened. And I'm glad I went. I mean, it was fun. It was a rainy night. But yeah, that was the last time I saw Jakub in the end of February. Then.
That's sick. How much were those? Because I have one of my best friends, right? He's Polish too, so he he's cheering for Bayern now. Let's say he's a Man U fan. He likes Lewandowski, the whole 9 yards. I'm gonna get him on, and he's gonna have to explain himself. But they like to start jumping teams too. But I mean,
Yeah,
Jakob's a pretty devout fan, but
yeah,
um,
that was
I'm
awesome.
gonna throw a little bit of shade towards my buddy here, but he wants to go to these games, right? Like obviously go to the Yellow Wall, go to, like I said, Man U, so he wants to go to Old Trafford, go to the El Clasico, stuff like that. So was it relatively easy to get tickets, or how did that all work out? I know,
It,
kind of a side note, nothing about Juve, but
um, it was a pain. So there was a website, and it was like the official website to
oh,
buy tickets. So it wasn't via Gogo or StubHub or anything like that.
thank God for.
But so you were basically waiting for a season ticket holder to release their ticket.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, you would see these tickets being available, and then you try to buy it, and then
sell.
Yeah, like it doesn't go through, or someone else is in the middle of the process, and then you lose it, right? So uh, I ended up getting one pretty high up in the Real Madrid curva. That wasn't fun. I did not vomit seeing Sergio Ramos, which was an achievement. Um, but all the cheering was like, oh my god. But other than that, the match was interesting. And Jakub got great seats a lot further down, so he was closer to the pitch. But there was a lot of waiting and reloading, and of course all we had were our phones because we were traveling, right? Yeah, so a lot of reloading, a lot of hoping for the best. You enter your credit card details, and then you're like, oh god,
please work, please work.
Yeah, and then even then when you're there, you're like, I hope this ticket is real. I hope this ticket is real. It's the Juve, right? It's the Juve trauma, right? Like, I hope.
Honestly, I hope this new website, me and Albert have been going off about it, but I hope they actually start having I hope they have their own platform. I really do, because so many fans have probably gone through hoops and nightmares, some being nightmares, some being like really easy. I mean, some it works, some it doesn't. But honestly, I like I said, like I always say, I hope no one goes through the experience I had to go through. Just way too much like worrying, and then they moved the game to the Saturday, and that whole debacle again.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But thankfully it did work out, and I'm really happy I did get to go to the museum. And the one thing that stands out, and I wanted to bring this up, and when you meet new people, guys, obviously this is for the audience, make sure you listen to them, especially if they've been to Torino multiple times. Because when you meet someone in the breakfast room of Luca's hotel, and I mean, if you know around Turin or around Jay, you know who Luca is. But if you meet someone that you don't know that's from obviously Singapore, and they tell you, I got a ticket from the Juve store yesterday, and there's gonna be players signing at the J store, you make sure and listen and go to the J store that day, because when you don't get to meet 5 legends that show up, and you see the photos on your Facebook or wherever, and you start kicking yourself. So that was one of my defining like memories of. I think it was Luke.
Okay, I remember now how we met.
I remember it was Luca's mom was in the kitchen making coffees, and I think she brought out like cornetti or something. And literally, I'm like, we were talking obviously about Juve and the game, because this was the day after. Obviously, they didn't do any parade or anything like that, which was unfortunate. I think a lot of the guys went out to the club. I was in shorts, so I'm like, there's no way I'm going out to any nightclubs this night. After just the whirlwind day that I had, I was like, I wish I just came in some jeans or something. And then it rained before the game too. It was a wacky day. But yeah, and then just the next morning, just sitting there, and she's like, and Farah's like, yeah, so I got like this ticket. They're like telling everyone in the store, and I'm thinking in my head, come on, what are you talking? Maybe they're gonna take 2-3 people, whatever. They're not going to sign for all of us, me being my usual self. And figures, go figure, you can check out the Facebook post. She met and got signatures. So, guys.
They wouldn't say. I kept asking who's going to come, and they wouldn't say. They just wouldn't say. And I'm like, oh, God, they're going to send Paduin or someone, but that's okay, because obviously I was in work mode, and I thought if it was someone, okay, I'm gonna just get something signed for the club and then bring it back, and someone would appreciate it back home, right? But yeah, I mean, and then they started coming like in a row. So let's see, who was it? Cáceres, Lichtsteiner, Chiellini, Barzani, Buffon.
Yeah.
I don't want to say
Maurizio there,
but I'm not friends with him anymore. And then Paduin. Maurizio wasn't there because he just had surgery.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was the unfortunate part. I wish I could take that back and go earlier, but yeah, that was too bad. I think he got injured like right before then too. And I was like, shit. But you got to take advantage of the times you do go. But guys, yeah, like I said, listen to people. They know what they're talking about. Don't fuck it up like I did.
You know,
Definitely don't.
I did meet Maurizio at the Juve store by accident one time, though, because I had been in Greece, and this was during the summer. This was in July. I had been in Greece, and when I was planning that trip, I thought, okay, I'm just going to spend, 3-4 days in Torino on the way back, right? And so I did. And that day I landed, and my plane was a little bit delayed. I landed say about, I don't know, 2 o'clock or something, right? And then my phone exploded. The moment I had Wi-Fi, because I didn't even have internet until I got to the hotel. The moment I had Wi-Fi, my phone exploded, and everyone was saying, Maurizio signing his contract today. He was signing the Maurizio 2020 contract, right? And I thought, oh God, I'm so tired. I've been traveling. But never mind. Okay, I'm just gonna go. So I went to and this was the old Juve store, when it was still inside the mall, right?
Right.
And so I went to the Juve store, and I thought, okay, since I'm here, I'm just going to pick up a couple of jerseys. And this one of the salespeople said to me, "Oh, if you buy a Maurizio jersey, I will give you a ticket, and he's coming at 5 o'clock." And I'm like, what? I said, "Yeah, buy a Maurizio jersey." And
Oh my God.
okay. So
That's
I did,
awesome.
and there it was. And then I got that signed and gave it to the club as well. That was our first big lucky draw present as a club. We gave it away at the end of that season. And in fact, now it's sitting in Iskandar's J Museum.
There you go. There you go. So now I got to fly over to Singapore, steal the jersey,
Yep.
and bring it back to Canada.
Security's really tight,
There you go. There you go. Damn, I gotta figure something out. But no, that's unbelievable. And yeah, they do. It's funny how they do all these things. And yeah, like you said, I haven't been to the new store, so that's something I'm looking forward to going to see. Because yeah, I just remember the one that they have obviously in their little. It's like a mall. If you haven't been there, they have a whole bunch of different stores as well, a grocery store, and different things like that. Obviously, the Juventus store, and yeah, it looks a hell of a nice store. I'm not gonna lie. So I got to get back there and definitely spend some more money that I already have spent. So the ton of money that I have spent already. So definitely looking to go see that as well. But yeah, I know it's funny. It's funny how they do all these different things, and yeah, like I said, don't miss out, guys. Keep your eyes peeled. Check social media. Check everything. Talk to the staff. Talk to everybody. Don't be shy. Just do it. Talk to different fans because you get these little tidbits. Someone's got a connection, whatever it may be, and you're meeting Marquise, you're meeting Buffon, you're meeting Chiellini, Barzagli. That would have been incredible. But they even sold what I noticed that trip. They sold out. That pinstripe jersey in the last game that they I don't know if that I'm not going to be 100% on this, but I think that was the first year with Adidas that they wore the new jersey on the last day. And literally it was sold. Maybe not all the sizes, but at least my sizes, they were done. I had to wait actually till I was back in Milano with my family to go to that Juve store, and then finally I picked it up, which I was actually very disappointed because I'm like, first day I go and meet all these fans. On the first day, I don't even head to the Juve store, and then I go the next day to my Juve museum and the tour, and donezo. I think they had maybe a few smalls left. That's about it, and just completely ran that store bare. And like you said, it was the trophy presentation, so it was it's one of those special occasions that you don't get to see all the time. But yeah, no, it was definitely a moment to hold on to. So that was great. Let's kind of get into. Oh, go ahead.
The next thing you have to go to is a bus parade.
Yeah, no, that's something that I was dying for. I was praying every night on that trip. I was in Switzerland with my school, with my university, and I'm like, please, Agnelli, please just throw it this year. Who cares about the Coppa Italia being in a week? Just throw the damn parade. And unfortunately, they didn't. And I don't even know. I can't remember when the next year was, but it was almost like a streak. Was it 20? Yeah, it was like a streak of years where We never did. Obviously, we were in finals and the like, so it was difficult. Though for those years, I could understand, but yeah, 2019, and I remember watching it on. I believe they had it on Juve's website that year because BN or it was either BN or the Zone wasn't showing it because typical broadcasters don't like to show you extra than from what you paid for, I guess. But
Yeah.
at least they did the Scudetto presentation this year, which was nice. But
Yeah,
come on, the Zone, pick it up.
it's not the same this
Yeah,
year.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Um,
go ahead, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I think they did it in 2018 because that was the year Netflix was shooting that special,
Oh yeah,
right? And then
that's
obviously the whole Buffon, farewell thing. So it was big. It was a big year. It was good.
it was. Yes, 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 it was. Speaking of big years, obviously, let's look to this season being the ninth straight Scudetto. Kind of give it, what do you think of the past season? And kind of give us your thoughts of that, and then what this Scudetto really means to you.
This past season was long, literally and figuratively. I think okay. So to me, I'm always the old lady nagging at everyone, right? But to me, I think this Scudetto should serve as a reminder to all of us that the Scudetto is not easy to win. It's not a given, even when other people mess up and give it. um,
True,
you know,
true.
and I get very offended, when people go, I'm not going to celebrate this Scudetto. It doesn't mean anything, or this Juve is not Juve. I get it. I understand the frustration, and the Juve that we saw this year. I mean, we talked about lack of spirit. I mean, the name of your podcast is Juventinita, and we were missing that.
Yeah,
But I think, you know. I'm so traumatized by the dark years that if the Coppa Italia is the only trophy we'll win one year, I would still celebrate it.
yeah.
And I was just, and this didn't hit me until after we got eliminated by Lyon, and I was talking to my husband, and he doesn't make fun of me in the Champions League anymore because now he has a 100% record of losing finals, and I don't. um, but I said to him that if I had known in 1996 that it would be the last time, and of course I was being emotional and overly dramatic, but I said if I had known that would be the last time, I would have celebrated so much harder. And I think that's the thing that I'm going to bring into the rest of our very stressful lives as Juventus fans, right? You don't want to not celebrate one and then later find that was the last time in your life. And I don't want to be that person with my dying breath going, I should have celebrated harder that last Scudetto, that last Coppa Italia, that last Super.
That's a good point.
Even,
Well, you just don't know, right? You don't know what Inter pulls out of their bag and like somehow comes up with another scandal that sends us down to Serie B or something stupid like that. So, I mean, and again, at the end of the day, teams are getting better, like you said. So we don't necessarily know what's going to happen next year. I mean, I would love for us to get that 10th. That would be unbelievable. Almost something in a dream that you'd think could never happen. And like you said, it's come with a lot of help. Obviously, some teams choking, and obviously some teams slipping up. But you can't take that away. 10. I think if we get to 10, I'm good. If we get to 10, then I just want all in on Champions League. I don't care if I win another Scudetto. I want Champions League. I would love to win the Scudetto. I'd love to win both. I'd love to win the Tripletta. But get to 10. Bring in build this team up real nicely. Fix all the problems that we can see, and just go hard for the Champions League. I will give up 1 year, even if it's that 11th year. just go all in for the Champions League. Because once you win one, that minds all of those years of losing don't mean shit anymore. Okay, so we can get on the right path and build something. I think Juve's got to build something proper. I think after we got rid of that magical midfield that we had with MVP squared, we really haven't done anything to come close to that anymore. And I think that's where we need to head. Obviously, Artur is going to be an interesting addition. But yeah, no, I think you got to call the season a success because it's kind of status quo. Nothing. It isn't worse than any of the past. Well, if you want to call Copa a doppietta, sure, that's fine. But last year, I mean, Allegri did kind of the same thing with. Okay, he added the Super Copa instead, or as well, but if you want to count that as a real trophy, you can. If you want, that's up to you. But talking about Sarri now, I kind of had the ambition of okay, he's the new manager. I was shocked that we picked him, to be honest. Um, I didn't know what we were gonna get. I was hoping for Sarri ball, if you want to call it that, more attacking football. That's kind of in general what I saw. Not necessarily this type of football that he was named as, but I wanted to see more attacking football. I think at points we got that. There was at points where I definitely saw it, but in terms of a whole season, the whole body work, should he have been fired? I think you could say yes, and I mean, there's reasons for yes and there's reasons for no. To me, the biggest for yes is no real cohesion with the team. It seemed to me, it just seemed like you look at how players were making runs and stuff like that. It didn't seem like they were really gelling. You see some of the different, obviously the post when he left really was only I think Bonucci and Dybala really saying anything of a goodbye. You look on the pitch, kind of Sarri seemed disjointed away from the players for the most part, and really, uh, as much as you want a coach to get his own players, he kind of stepped into a role accepting the fact that there wasn't going to be many reinforcements, and you could say he sure deserved his midfield, but I think for me, there wasn't really progress made. Not saying that it wasn't successful and that we hadn't. I mean, I think there's a few games where we could say that definitely you saw something that you would like to see. The defense was definitely taking a hit this year, but yeah, no, for me, it's whether you want to gamble giving him his players or adding some players that are more to his style and seeing what happens in a year. If it goes well, then hey, you're right. If it goes wrong, okay, now you got to still clear house a little bit, or you bring in someone new, maybe a Pochettino or someone else, and you kind of rebuild or you kind of damage controls, so to speak, and maybe don't go as far as everyone wanted. Everyone was screaming for attacking football. Let's be honest, and I don't know if everyone really wanted attacking football because your defense is always going to take a hit. Always, you're going to have more players up the field than you want, and you're not going to get the coverage that you need, and you're going to leak goals at times. And the goal is for you to outscore your opponents, essentially, of how I see it. But what did you think, Farah, about the firing after one season? Justified or not? Um, I think people have good answers for both. Um, is Pirlo really an upgrade? Would you have one or the other? We'll get into that into the next season. But what did you think about Sarri? Maybe his tactics and what he really did for us, and should he have been fired? Essentially.
Before I answer that, I have someone at the door, so give me a second.
Oh yeah, no worries. I can cut this out, so we're good.
Okay, good. Hello? Yes? Yes? wasn't
No worries.
and then a friend sent something, so
They're probably like, "Stop talking. Who are you talking to on the
I
thing?"
know, right? Yeah.
That's
And then
funny.
my
That's
dog,
funny.
I opened the gate and my dog's like running towards the gate, and I'm like, just put it down. I've got a table there. Just put something down.
Yeah, that's funny. But
Right.
anyways, back into it.
Sure.
Yeah. So just
Uh,
continue on. What you
yes.
think about, should he have been fired and whatnot? And go
I
ahead.
like you said, there are reasons for yes, there are reasons for no, right? Um, I on a personal note, I kind of feel sorry for him. I think, yeah, sure, he knew what he was walking into, but he wasn't given the best of circumstances to
Right.
succeed. And in the scheme of things, he didn't fail. Um, for however we won the Scudetto, yes, other people messed up, but we could have also messed up to a point that we didn't win it. But we didn't, right? We still won it. And obviously, the Champions League is an objective. The Scudetto is not the only objective. So I will unequivocally disagree on that. The Scudetto is not the only objective.
Right.
And of course, in that respect, he failed. Um, but okay, so I told you I used to work in advertising, right? And sometimes, we would have people who were so terrible in their jobs, but they got the job for whatever reason, friends with somebody,
Right.
blah, 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 right? And they were so terrible at their jobs that when they left, we would celebrate. We would throw a party without that person to celebrate that person leaving. Advertising is a cruel business, I tell you. But then the next person comes and it's somehow worse. And I think, that's how it was with Allegri and Sarri, right? Because if you see the same people who wanted Allegri out, wanted Sarri out,
Yeah.
But if Pep Guardiola had come, if Pochettino, who's not won anything, by the way, had come, would they win the Champions League with this team? I don't know. And of course, we'll never know. But would they win the Champions League with this team if Zidane had come? Would he win the Champions League with this team? So now here we are with Pirlo, right? I think to begin with, Sarri, so just like Allegri, right, started off on the wrong foot because nobody liked them as people, know. And Allegri won us over because of the Champions Leagues. The Champions League, right? Yeah. But Sarri, Allegri learned to wear a suit properly. That helped. Sarri was a little bit sloppy, a little bit crass in press conferences, never knew how to say the right thing. He was un-Juve in so many ways, but he was also un-Juve in the sense that he was meant to bring attacking football.
Right.
And so when I say it's unfair to him, I think it's unfair that we wanted that from him, but we didn't want the sloppy sweatpants, digging his nose in front of the camera, kind of. Yeah. You get the full package, right? So I will let that rest, right? So I think here we are now. He's been fired. He achieved one objective, failed the other objective that many other managers before him have also failed. Okay, Pirlo, I am terrified. I am terrified for us, and I am terrified for him. I love Pirlo. I agree. I love Pirlo. I was fortunate. It was in 2018 after 2 days after the bus parade. Was the bus parade on a Saturday? So that Monday, my friend Andar, my friend Andar from Indonesia, I was telling you about. So he, his wife, and we went to watch Pirlo's retirement match.
Oh shit! There you go.
At the San Siro, and I love Pirlo. I want him to succeed. He is such an amazing player, but he does not have 1 day of experience. Apart from having the qualification, he has the same experience as you and me.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, actually, he doesn't even have the qualification because
yeah,
he still has to get his exam. So.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he won't fail. He's smart and all of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but yeah, and so I'm worried about us, obviously, because the team is everything, right? The team is first. But I'm also terrified for this amazing magician of a player. They don't make them like him anymore, and he has this legacy, right? I mean, you look at the legends on the pitch at his farewell match. That is his career. How
Yeah.
storied and how grand it is, right? And if he fails, what will that do to him? And his career will be over before it even begins.
Well, the window is so small, right? Like, I
Yeah,
think to me, that's what I was worried. That's the first thing I said on Twitter. I'm like, Juve management is setting up a hell of a season because this is just could really turn into really quickly Juve fans versus the tifosi versus the coach real quick.
yeah,
Because I mean, what is it today? We're August 15th right now. 4 days until we're a month to go, and yeah, it's gonna come quick and fast, and you don't know necessarily. I mean, there's this big overhaul apparently going on with players going out. Does that necessarily mean we're getting players? I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't trust it.
yeah. I don't.
I think the club is gonna give us what we have how we speak right now of who's in and who's out. I mean, I think there's going to be room for more players to go out, but to say there's going to be a lot of players coming in. I don't know. There's talk about using youth players, which would be extremely un-Juve. Um, so it's interesting. I mean, Albert on the last podcast, hot take or not, however you think, he said if Juve doesn't bring in anyone else, like, I mean, for me, I think we need another solid midfielder. We need another like some fullback depth and maybe like a backup number 9. And I think that would be, if we could do that, I would be like, okay, I have faith in this team. Maybe it doesn't go on and win, but at least they did their job in seeing what we've been lacking and making a move in that direction. Albert's saying, hey, if we don't do any of that, I have zero expectations. I think we're going to win 0 trophies. And that's just how he feels. And I mean, I got to agree with him. Like, if we get the same team, barring adding Kulusevski and Artur, maybe dropping off some of the players like Khedira. Hopefully, I'm praying to God that he's gone. Finally, I mean, even just not seeing him, just for my psychology, even just not seeing his name in the roster, I'll feel better every game. Or knowing that he's on the team. But hopefully we can get some things done. Now, COVID is COVID, right? There's no revenue coming in from seats. Um, Someone pulled a number out of their ass, 80 million out of Champions League. I don't know how we got that, if that was true or not. But we'll wait and see. I'm really looking forward to seeing their financials. That's a video that I can't wait to put out. But yeah, I really can't wait to see that. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how we expect to play. We're talking. There's been some early talks, maybe 4-3-3. Obviously, he said the famous interview. If you're on social media, I mean, take that with a grain of salt. Who do you think we should bring in? Do you have any players in mind that you're like, you know what, we gotta bring these in, even just in generally? Like, I know Pogba's been talked about a lot. I don't know if that'll happen. But lots of Milik, Raul Jimenez, Partey from Atletico Madrid. There's been so many names, Zaniolo, Tonali, you name it. If there's a player that's had a good season or is a midfielder, fullback, or number 9, he's probably been linked with Juve so far.
Yeah. For a long time, I've been keen on Milinkovic-Savic. And that it's one of those things that we're always linked to him. It's never going to happen.
Losito's too hard.
Yeah, and Zaniolo is interesting, and Zaniolo would have, to me, I think, would have been possible if Pallotta hasn't sold Roma.
Yeah, true
Um,
enough. True enough.
yeah, because when I read the headline about the sale, I'm like, that was all I could think about. That's it, not happening, right? He would have been a good addition, though. I thought.
Oh yeah.
Pogba. I wonder. Okay, so there are players like Pogba, like Morata, right? I wonder if we remember them more romantically than tactically. I mean, we love
It's a
them,
good point. It's a
you
good
know,
point.
their personalities, and they love Juve. When they were here, they were very passionate with the fans and all of that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, because Pogba did well with Vidal and Pirlo,
Right.
and then we saw, like, when he went to Man U for 100 million or whatever. I remember going to work that day, because I still worked at Aeon, going to work that day and going to the sponsorship team and going, "Thanks for the money, folks." Because he just wasn't going to be the same player. And I know he's had good moments, he's got ups and downs, but he wasn't the same player, because
No.
he's a player who needs support. It's just like, try not to say his name, but I have to say his name without being rude about it. Bonucci.
Snake. You can call him Snake. Don't worry.
Yeah. So anyway, look at him, right? He was only anybody with Chiellini and Bazzagli when they
Yeah.
were good and solid and strong and not broken. Beside him, he was a nobody. Otherwise, he's a nobody now. I mean,
Yeah.
he needs a 20-year-old kid to make him look good.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
I mean, and so that's why I don't know. I like the idea of Pogba, but I don't know if I like the idea of Pogba more than the reality of Pogba if he does come.
Yeah, and I mean, depending on if he signs a new contract, we could sweep him up for free again, and I'm really hoping that happens
That would be fun.
because
Six.
my buddy Jesse will probably his head will explode if that happens, and I just really want to see that happen so bad, just for the chaos on football Twitter. For that to happen twice, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we call, yeah, that would be just honestly, I can't even imagine the scenes on Twitter if that happens. Literally the world might explode and that'll be it if that happens. But yeah, unbelievable. I think the money wise, um, I've said it a couple times on Twitter. I don't think Man U's willing to lower, and I don't think we're willing to go up. For me, he's really only worth I give him about 40 to 70 million approximately, depending on what you do with a player, depending on what players you want to put in. I mean, when you have 1 year left on your deal, your bargaining really, well, it significantly drops. I mean, again, we can talk to him technically in January.
Yep.
So really, we're what, like not even 6 months, less than 6 months away.
It's practically 3.5 months.
So you're looking at a situation where, I mean, if they want to take anything, or I mean, maybe they sign him. I don't know. That's a possibility. Maybe they give him a new contract, but um, I know. He announced a big announcement on Twitter recently, and it was just some gaming team he joined or something. It was really
Yeah.
it was really funny that some people actually thought that maybe it was actually something, but um, yeah, no, it's been interesting. What are your thoughts on the whole Dybala? One last thing before we kind of, actually, a couple things. Obviously, how have you thought management is done? And what have you thought about this whole Ronaldo Dybala? I know it's BS rumors that Gazzetta and Tutto Sport are putting out, but what have you thought on the whole situation? Like, if you had to build a team now, and I think it's a pretty valid question. If let's say Juve's financials aren't in a bind, or they are in a bind, and we had to move one or the other at this present moment, right? 35-year-old Ronaldo. I think it's 26-year-old Dybala. What do you do? What are your thoughts?
I'm full of unpopular opinions. You're gonna get downvotes for your video.
I just fought through all of CR7's fan club on Twitter. I'm still here, baby. I'm still here. So don't even worry about it. We're good. Fucking tell tell anyone off. We're good to go. With CR7 fans, I took them down. I won the war. They won the battle of them clicking the like button, but we're good to go. But yeah, so just continue on. What do you think about the Ronaldo Dybala situation? And then what else did I say? The management, Juve management.
Yeah, so you were asking what would I do if I had to sell one of
Exactly.
them, right? Okay.
If you had to build your team, who are you building around, one or the other? Now you can factor winning, you can factor win it now, maybe build around the team for maybe a couple years down the line, not necessarily get into that champion, like have a team that you think is good enough to win the Champions League right away, or because again, financials are such a big thing, and it is a tough question because you don't know what Juve is willing to put in, right? Again, it's all hypothetical, so
yeah.
Give us your thoughts.
So we talked earlier about, okay, maybe this is the year that we don't win anything and we'll have to live with it. Having said that, Pirlo's appointment came, the day after or 2 days after? Andrea Agnelli said, Champions League is our objective. And we know he's a consistent man. He's not someone who flips from one side of the fence to the other over 2 days, right? And as daunting as that task may be for someone like Pirlo, I think that winning is still an expectation.
Right.
And now, I'm not a fan of Dybala.
Okay, there we go. Hot take. The Dybala Nation is going to be coming in full force.
That's it. Yep. Now, and the reason I say that is because I don't think that he is the sort of player who will stay forever.
Okay.
I don't think that he is the sort of player who will put the interest of the team ahead of his own.
Okay.
And I know we're probably, in a time of football where you don't get players like that anymore. Maybe that's too much to expect. I don't know. And I carry a lot of baggage when people compare him to Del Piero. I get so offended. Don't compare someone who wants 15 million euro a season in a time when we didn't make money to someone who took a pay cut, stayed with us in Serie B after winning a World Cup.
True.
I get that he's had a great season. Now, okay, so when I say I don't like Dybala, people just like when I say the jersey, I don't like the half and half jersey. People equate that with me saying the jersey is ugly. Not the same thing, right? So I don't like Dybala, but I've never denied that he's talented. He's talented.
Right.
And he's had an exceptional season, He was Serie A
MVP.
Player of the Year, MVP. And that's great. But before that, he was invisible for 18 months.
True.
And
I mean, under different circumstances, but it's true.
Yep. And I do know that, some coaches, can help some players flourish more than others. And I get that. And this season worked for Dybala. But if we are going to build a team around him, then we need to know that he's going to be here for the next 10 years. And I'm not sure that he is. I'm not sure that if an opportunity did arise and the mess around his image rights that belong to someone else can get sorted out, he's not going to go. So at this stage, I think we're at a point of transition, right? I mean, if appointing Pirlo as coach doesn't indicate that, then I don't know what does. We're at a point of transition. Pirlo is a fill-in coach for 2 years while we hopefully raise the money for some big shot who's going to do great things. I don't know, right? But if I
read... it's going to be interesting. I don't know what they did with the contract, but anyways, take it away. It's confusing that 2 years though.
Yeah, it's almost as if they don't have confidence in him, but he's what they've got, and they're making the best of it. And maybe that I don't know. Only because I think at this stage in transition, we need more reliability.
Okay.
So we know can turn it on when it matters and not vanish when it matters. We know that he won't get injured. The man's made of metal, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But
he's gonna break a leg, on the beach or something.
Hey, he's had his injuries. I've kept track. I've kept track of the injuries he's had.
I mean, I'll take your word for it. I'm not. I don't keep track of these things. But
oh, just because I've had a hate on for the guy for a really long time, so I just really know what. Like I said, I know what gets Ronaldo fans mad, and I mean, take what I say about it. If I'm speaking with a this is what I love, and I hope people get this the right way. I hope people listen to this podcast in its entirety because, I really like to piss off Ronaldo fans, like really get a kick out of it. And I will say whatever. I don't care if it's a lie. I don't care if it's complete BS. I will say whatever it takes to know that they are fuming or in tears on the other end of it. Because to me, even to the extent of Del Piero, to give up. Now, I'll support Del Piero. If he wants to go to Sydney FC, I'll support that. But I'm not saying I'm not cheering for Juventus ever again because Del Piero's gone. That's ridiculous. To me, if you cheer for a player, a single player, and you live and you die by it, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good fans. There's a lot of fans out there that are intelligent. They know what they're talking about, and they can have a good conversation, and I respect that. But when you die on that hill, that is Cristiano Ronaldo, with anything and anything, I have no time to bust your chops, and I will say anything. I've wished the guy injury, and some people thought I was saying that as like legit, as if I would want a guy that we're employing at 31 million to like tear an ACL. Guys, I'm fucking with all of you. Like, you guys might have won those little like tapping each other's comments and we got all of our support and our likes. I won the war. I'm still here. I was getting follows even after you guys tried to take me down, tried to post all this slanderous shit online and all this stupid crap. I'm still here, baby. I'm still here. You're not taking me down. As long as Juve is infinite. Players are finite. Juve is infinite. So you can go cry when Ronaldo's career's done and figure out what you have to do to make yourself happy again. But we're still going to be here. We're still going to be cheering for black and white stripes. We're going to be cheering for Juventus, and that's it. That's gets game. But no, I mean,
a living example of that, right? Start that with Baggio.
Well, exactly. I mean, like, I can understand building a run. Like, if Juve showed me that they were willing to go all in and actually spend, there's actually even a possibility where I say that that Dybala could go. Now, personally, when I think about it as a team, we have 2 years left with Ronaldo. In my head, I think we only got 1 year left with Ronaldo. From what's gone on now, I think there's about 1 year where he might say, if like next year doesn't go well, he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to pick it up and go wherever, PSG, Man U, wherever it is, maybe MLS, China, I don't know. I'm thinking we only got 1 year left. So okay, now that reduces the timeline from 1 year or from 2 years to 1 year. Okay. Now, if we let's say get rid of Dybala, again, purely hypothetical. Not saying both have to go, not saying one has to go, just saying purely hypothetical because it's been talked about in the media. Now, if it's complete bullshit, hey, it could be complete bullshit. But when you hear stuff like Ronaldo is saying, I'm here or Sarri's here, you can see his influence on the team, whether we like it or not. Now, looking at that 1 year timeline, like I said, if Dybala is, let's say he's 26, I'm going to assume. I think he's 20. He's around that age, 26 or 27. So he's kind of in his prime. Now, if you're going to throw a prime piece and then Ronaldo's going to leave anyway, then we're really screwed. Then we really have no bargaining chip at the end of the day. Because even if you keep Dybala, he's still going to hold that value. Like they're talking 100 million right now. Maybe that's a player plus cash, whatever. I mean, I wouldn't go that low. I mean, if he's not bringing in 150 to 200 million easy, I don't make that deal at all. But for me, it's too much to give up a player that I think really, in my personal opinion, this year was the only guy that would step on the field and say, "Okay, we have a chance to win this game." When I saw him go on the field, and when I saw him interact and make plays and sacrifice, there's a video that I posted. I did like a tribute to Dybala on my Twitter, and there's a video about there's a Del Piero tribute. I know you don't like to compare it. I agree, it's totally unfair because one, a guy who's won everything, and has done pretty much everything for the club, to someone who really has only been here for a handful of years. So it's completely different. I mean, hey, we win a Champions League. Okay, now we're in a different discussion. We went to Champions League. Hey, okay, now we're in a different discussion. Maybe Messi leaves. Argentina actually wins an international trophy. Okay, now we're talking, right? But it's still a little early. But I think when I hear the words of Ranieri and after that game against Real Madrid with Del Piero, the performance he did, and I hear kind of the few things he's saying. Now go check that out. It's obviously on my Twitter, and I give you the link and even the time of when he says it. But I think of that, and then I will think about how Dybala played, and I see exactly like mirrored. And I think if we take Dybala, and it showed. Obviously, Ronaldo's brilliance in that last game against Lyon kind of made a difference, but it made a huge difference. I'm not gonna say it made a small difference. It was the difference. And see, like I can actually appreciate that. But when we don't have them, it's such a different level. Such a different level. And I don't want to say I can guarantee because I can't. But if we had Dybala at 100% in that game, there's no question in my mind that we win that game easy. Easy, easy peasy. And I'll go out on a limb and say that even though I went out on a limb on Twitter and said Atletico Madrid was going to win the Champions League right before they lost to Leipzig. So I don't know if you want to take my opinion too heavily or not. That's up to you guys to decide. If you're listening to these podcasts, I think maybe you do think my opinion means something. I mean, I'm not trying to say, I'm a genius over here, but hey, I know a little bit about football. But yeah, that's just my take. I mean, I agree. I think Ronaldo's done a lot, but I think at 35 to 37, it's a tough ask in my opinion. But let's see what happens. I honestly, I don't think they're gonna go. I don't think they're gonna go.
Yeah, no, I don't think either of them are going to go. To be honest, but to me, the thing about selling Dybala, if and when we do, is that we need that money.
Well, that's true too.
There is nobody, and that's where I'm coming from when I've been saying since a year ago, sell Dybala, because you know what, we don't see the impact this year. We may not even see the impact next year, but the year after, we're going to struggle to buy a deal for 75 million because we didn't cash in on Dybala when we could for 150 mil or whatever else, whatever that value is. Because if you look at the players, and the thing is, I don't want for us to be forced to sell a delete.
That's true.
Down the road because we wanted to protect Dybala. So to me, I'm thinking of it more from that perspective. And okay, so
it's a good point. No, I agree. It's a good point.
I love defenders. I'm a defense. I was a goalkeeper when I was young. But I'm a defense person. And to me, defenders. So he's 20 now. This young boy who wants to build a career at our club. Right. And to me, he could be a captain one day.
Right.
And that pairing with Demiral, over several years could really be the new, well, there are only two of them, but the new BBC equivalent, right. The new defensive pairing. And so I'm thinking more from that perspective, because if you look at everybody else, we are terminating contracts like cost nothing, and we're being forced to cut salary costs because we can't make money back from players. And we're not going to make money back from Ronaldo, even if he leaves before his contract ends. We're not going to make 100 million back and all that money that we've paid him in salary. No. And forget people that Higuain, that's 90 million that we've paid, and we're not going to get a cent back, apart from cutting out his salary. And we terminated the contract of Mandzukic earlier in the year. Matuidi now, and well, we're going to speak for another 2 hours if we carry on like this. But Paratici cannot sell, and that's a whole other matter altogether.
Sing it to the choir. Sing it to the choir.
And so I think that if we do, honestly, I say the Dybala failed in the long run.
Yeah.
Maybe not on the pitch. Maybe and I know that that's a bit of a counter argument, but I would rather suffer on the pitch than be in such ridiculous debt that we could suffer even more.
Yeah, well, that's just the thing, and it's really tough to say because, like, you don't know. Like that's why I want these financials, and I'm not going to get them till like October or November, and it's really like pissing me off because I'm like, I want to know what you're hiding from us because there's something like everybody's going on about these transfers, and I just don't see things happening. Like, oh, let's get rid of this guy. Let's get rid of. I really don't see us having the number that we need, even though we reported about 160 million plus, not a plus. Well, I guess you could call it a plus valenza, but 160 million in the positive, just off of the those moves we made right in the end of right in June there, and then obviously the Pjanic deal. Yeah. But, you look at Higuain. I mean, really, what's amortized on the books is only about 18 million. Mm-hmm. So, like, what's left of what that 90 million is, right? So, it's not horrible. I mean, I don't think you're getting 20 million back at all, anyway. So you're gonna have to cut your losses on that. Ronaldo's at about 57.9 million left. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'll give you this. What if PSG wants him for Mbappe? We do a swap for Mbappe. Would you not take that?
Yes.
Oh, I'd take it at odds.
I would take any swap for Mbappe.
Damn right. I think.
Actually, I would not take any swap. I will not give like a delete and Demiral for Mbappe. But
oh, I'd give Demiral. I'll give Demiral if he's.
I like the idea of Demiral.
If we get Mbappe for a Demiral, go ahead. I'll give him Demiral, Bernardeschi, Khedira, Rabiot, or no, we'll keep Rabiot. We'll give him. Who do we got left here? I'll give him half the squad for. If they're willing to pay for their salary, I'll give them half the squad. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Anybody, Costa. We'll give him Costa too. We'll give him everybody. Who else? Danilo. Throw Danilo in there too.
Oh God, Danilo pisses me off so much. I cannot even look at his face.
I still can't believe we decided to play Cuadrado for a full season at right back. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But you know what? I think it's time to wrap this one up. It's been an awesome first fan focus. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I mean, I'm really hoping I can get Maria on and Giorgios on. It would kind of be like the trident of
Yeah.
like first uh, friends that I've met from Juve, and then hopefully I can get, like I said, the kingpin, the
Yeah.
big boss, Maurizio, to come on here. We'll work something out. And I really just want to talk about the Curva and the Tifosi, and see kind of what's going on and what the update is. Obviously, get his opinion on what's
Yeah.
going on with the club. I've kind of had some harsh things to say about Agnelli. I think in terms of what he's done as a whole, that's fine to give him the praise, but I think there's a lot of questionable things that we have to look at. And I think as a club, you look at Paratas, like you said, not being able to sell players, that's a massive, massive issue.
Yeah.
And for him not to be the fall guy, that's kind of what the disappointing thing with Sadi was for me, was
Yeah.
him being the scapegoat for a lot of mismanagement and a lot of bad decisions. And that's kind of how I'll wrap that chapter up for that. But you know, again, let's hope for the best. I'm going to give Pirlo 100% support, just like I did Saturday. And let's see where it goes. I mean, we have such low expectations. I mean, for a lot of us, the only way is up,
Yeah.
as they say. So let's see what happens. I mean, who knows? Maybe we can get something magical going and something working, and it all works out. But let's see. We gotta wait till the ball's kicked before we can really get in there. But transfer season is transfer season. I hate it. That's why I go on holidays in the summer.
Yeah.
Can't stand all this nonsense. It's getting in my head. But yeah, again, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's Sunday there. We just got into the Sunday about 15 minutes ago. So
There you go. We're in the
uh,
finally.
exactly. Now we're on the same page. But yeah, no, awesome. Thank you for your stories. I mean, I didn't even have to do the last segment. You had so much insight of going to uh, you know different games, as well as the fan club in Singapore. And guys, definitely check that out. If you're in the area and you haven't heard about it, join a club, meet other fans. I mean, there's so many other great people out there that cheer for the same club. It's just a matter of meeting up and talking. I mean, I'm just the list of groups that I have, with whether it be on WhatsApp, Discord. I'm not really on, but the different Twitter group kind of DMs that we have going is awesome. So you got guys from wherever, U.S., Europe, Africa, Kuwait, Middle East, excuse me, Asia. But it's always fun. And then you got the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram world. So it's a bunch of fun. But again, thank you for coming on. I'll definitely have you be back on. And yeah, we're gonna hook some stuff up with some other fellow members and in Singapore, whether that be during the season or before the season. I want to reach out. Like I said, I want to diversify to get on audience, not just on this side of the world, but across the whole world. And I think you guys, I think everybody's more than welcome to come on. I think a lot of fans that aren't necessarily with the Italian heritage, um, very underrated in terms of what they bring to this club. And I appreciate what you guys do for us. The support, the different murals, tattoos, and all that kind of stuff. It's awesome to see. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Having me. It was so good to talk to you again. It's been way too long.
Yeah, it's been way too long, way too long. And I hope to get out there soon. Whenever, I know there's going to be flights at some point, but I know the U.S. is kind of in a little bit of a jam. But in terms of flying to Italy, I think it's not too big of a deal as of yet. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if there's fans in the stadium again next season, and hopefully to catch myself and maybe yourself there. Again, guys, reach out around Turin, join the community. I mean, just to see a bunch of fans, even if you don't want to, let's say, hang out, if you're only there for a couple days, or you want to see some specific things and your schedule's kind of, packed, at least go before the game and maybe even after to celebrate a victory. We had a victory dinner at I believe it was Baladine restaurant, where they have the if you want to call it a big table upstairs where all of us were kind of chilling and eating, and and they have their own kind of beer that's pretty well known around Italy. It's kind of like a craft beer, so definitely check that out. And there's different places. They got the pizza. They got I think it's what bar is that at? Where they do the giant pizza. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, no, I can't remember the name of that place, but yes.
But anyways, they have lots of they do not just that bar or this bar. They go to all over. They go all over Torino, and some great places. And even if you're looking for a hotel, obviously Ponte Sassi, which is owned by Luca. And I'm like I said, I'm surprised if you don't know who Luca is. Famously saying the lion, which I still cracks me up every time I hear that damn video. But that's awesome. So yeah, guys, check out around Turin. He's always more than willing to help you if you have any questions to get there, or obviously to get tickets and what to see. So definitely check that out. And yeah, as always, stay tuned. We're going to be getting a couple podcasts going in the next few weeks. Obviously, we have the season preview to come and kind of close the chapter of this year and moving on to next year. So, yeah, guys, stay tuned as always with the, at Juventinita, DAL, Twitter and Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts. Check it out. And, yeah, as always, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. Ciao. Thanks for watching.